Now, what I want to do first, though, before I get into that, is I want to do the first edition, what I'll call an agenda update. And this is going to be an update on a story that I covered last week on my concerns that there are sort of violent, angry impulses emerging in the Christian community out there. And I believe that these impulses are being deliberately, let's say the flames of these impulses are being deliberately fanned by the establishment and suspicious characters in the Christian community. So let me just bring up the update for you. And I'm going to flash back to a little bit from Rudy Giuliani, who is the mayor, or was the mayor of New York City, and the lawyer for Donald Trump. Okay, so as high-ranking a politician as you can find in the United States, and as connected a person as you can find, being the lawyer privy to the secrets of the President of the United States. So let's just bring that in now. It's an update. Okay, now, once again, I'm going to play some clips here to illustrate what I'm talking about in terms of they are provoking the population. Deliberately, I would say, poking the most vulnerable, naive, easy to anger people out there in the chest, trying to provoke them into violent reactions. So just watch this.
So this Black Lives Matter movement, when you hear it, please don't think it's about Black lives. They have an agenda. They want a totally different kind of government that is on a socialist communist model and that gives preference to people of one race. This is planned. This is planned by Black Lives Matter. It's funded by Soros to the tune of $30 or $40 million. And the plan is to change your government, to take it away from you, to take away from you a government based on free enterprise, to take away from you your Second Amendment right to bear arms, to take away from you really your right to have a religion. Soros is a notorious atheist, proclaims the fact that he's an atheist. So are Marxists, by the way. It's one of the cores of Marxism is atheism.
Okay, so as I underscored last week, who is Giuliani poking in the chest there? Who is he trying to alarm? Okay, the evil George Soros is an atheist. And they want to take away your right to have a religion. Those despicable, like George Soros is so despicable that he will even admit that he is an atheist. Can you imagine anybody being so despicable? So who is Giuliani targeting with his message? Okay, now I'm going to play momentarily here a clip from a show by Rick Wiles. I've got a screenshot here because this is kind of interesting because Rick Wiles is a pastor in the United States, and he did an interview with Michael Brown, who is connected to something I was working around the perimeters with myself here in British Columbia. So Michael Brown is a popular radio evangelist who supported the criminalization of homosexuality in Uganda and was involved in BC, along with Sid Roth, who's a popular television Christian figure, in encouraging the creation of the West Coast Christian Accord, which is now the One Accord. And he was working behind the scenes with Sid Roth, basically supporting the West Coast Christian Accord. I know this because I was connected to people who were working on that. And I eventually had sort of a falling out with them because I no longer trusted their motives and sincerity. I'm not going to rehash that all over again, but it's interesting to note that There are connections across borders between these people. So Michael Brown connected to the West Coast Christian Accord, now interviewing Rick Wiles. And who is Rick Wiles? Again, he's a pastor. He formerly worked at CNN before moving on to the Christian mega stations. So CBN, that's the Christian Broadcasting Network, and TBN, the Trinity Broadcasting Network. He then went on to do his own radio broadcasts and ministry, eventually moving full-time to the internet, which is what he does now. So I'm going to play a couple clips. The first clip, I believe he is addressing people who are trying to get Donald Trump out of office, either through impeachment or by doing whatever they can to make him lose the election. And this is what he has to say about that. Pastor Rick Wiles talking about the evil lefties trying to get Trump out of office.
If they take him out, there's going to be violence in America. That's all there is to it.
And when we say take him out,
however he leaves, there's going to be violence in America. And I believe there are people in this country, veterans, there are cowboys, mountain men, guys that know how to fight.
Veterans, cowboys, and mountain men. He does not include in his list any intellectuals, like, say, some of the intellectuals that have led revolutions in the past, for instance. He mentions veterans, cowboys, and mountain men who are going to be outraged, and they're going to apparently take up arms, and they're not going to take it.
Okay. And they're going to make a decision that the people that did this to Donald Trump are not going to get away with it. And they're going to hunt him down. I'm serious. They're going to hunt him down. I don't want it to happen. I don't want to see the country go this way. But once hell breaks loose, if these people in Washington think that they're going to get away with it, it's not going to happen. The Trump supporters are going to hunt them down. It's going to happen. And this country is going to be plunged into darkness. And they brought it upon themselves.
Okay, so July 23rd, so just a little more than a week ago.
So this is a Fox News report. Once again, this is from 2015. So the questions were still going on in 2015. Why is the Department of Homeland Security buying so many bullets? And they're still going back and forth on the reason why. Of course, Fox News never comes out and says the real reason why. They're just questioning it and making inferences. And
because nobody wanted to say Obama was building a massive
private
arsenal.
army.
He said he was going to have an army.
Yes.
Well, this actually was updated in 2015. The original article was published in 2013, and they actually made fun of people in this Fox News article. They tried to say, if you think there's something sinister to this, it's actually just the government buying ammunition at low prices.
Well, some lawmakers want to know why the Department of Homeland Security is apparently on a huge ammo buying spree. This is a just-placed order for more than 300,000 bullets, just the latest in a series of contracts that could add up to more than 1.5 billion rounds of ammo over the next 5 years. Critics say that's enough bullets to supply the equivalent of the Iraq War for 24 years, and they want to know why the DHS is doing it. Congressman Doug LaMalfa is one of the lawmakers demanding answers.
People are wondering why, for example, is the Social Security Administration getting almost 200,000 rounds of hollow point ammunition? What is it about our Social Security checks? And
yes, this is a very good question as to why the government was buying, over 1 billion rounds of ammunition and giving it to people like, Social Security and even the post office and stuff. Why were they doing this?
and administration that we have guys toting hollow point around with them. Now, if it's for target practice, there's an awful lot of hollow point going out to these various agencies that aren't appropriate for target practice because they're much more costly rounds.
Yes, hollow point bullets are designed to kill, basically. And they've sent out an awful lot of them. It's almost as if the government was anticipating some sort of massive civil unrest where they were going to need an awful lot of bullets, and not just your regular bullets, but hollow point bullets. Okay, not allowed to use hollow point bullets in warfare. It's banned. But let's just go back to Rick Wiles.
Homeland Security built a massive ammo stockpile of not just regular bullets, but hollow points. The U.S. military is not permitted to use hollow point. It's against international law.
That's right.
But not against domestic law.
But not against domestic law. What Obama planned for evil is now going to be used against his communist revolutionary forces. And Homeland Security has a massive stockpile of hollow point ammo that they're getting ready to turn loose on Obama's revolutionaries.
And I want you to pay attention here to the continual use of terms like communist, Marxist, socialist, and the fact that whether we're talking Giuliani, or whether we're talking Rick Wiles, or whether we're talking Senator Tom Cotton, who some people think is going to be the next Republican candidate for the president, any of these figures, they're always throwing out these terms and doing what back in the 50s and 60s would have been called red scaring, right? And they're conflating these three terms, Marxist, communist, socialist, like they're all the same thing, right? But they're not, and I've talked about this before. Pay attention to the use of these trigger words.
Mr. Meadows, please tell President Trump that he is now in possession of the bomber bullets. 2 billion bomber bullets. You're in possession of them now. You got the bomber bullets. And you can put down the the insurrection. You can put it down.
I like that little Freudian slip there, eh? You can put down the resurrection, said the Christian pastor, who I don't think is a legitimate Christian pastor. I think he's a poser, but we'll get into that.
You have the bomber bullets in your hands, and you don't have to tolerate this anymore. They were purchased for the purpose of putting down an insurrection. Well, you got one. So put the hollow point bullets to good use and get out there and put down this communist revolution so the rest of us could live our lives peacefully. And we don't have to stay up at night wondering if our homes are going to burn down.
And people have to sort of ask themselves here, no matter who it is who's putting this out there, if these people are really so stupid that they don't know what communism means and Marxism means, and the fact that to sort of be a communist, you have to sort of subscribe to the tenets listed in the Communist Manifesto, which talks about, Giuliani at least pointed out one thing, an end to private property, but specifically end of bourgeois private property, nationalization of all industry, worker control over the means of production, and all these types of things, right? Which none of these Democrats and stuff that this guy is opposed to are advocating. Joe Biden, even though 90% of the Democratic Party supports health care for all in the United States, Joe Biden has flatly refused to promote health care for all. So he's some kind of lousy, piss poor communist. So they are misusing this term, but they're using it to trigger people and to make people think that there is, like we're back in, the 1970s and 80s, and the Russians are looking to invade and take over the country and this type of stuff.
If our children and grandchildren are going to be hurt, we're all living in this state of fear and apprehension. So put the bomber bullets to use. We have a Marxist communist revolution underway, people trying to start a civil war and destroy our country. So now Donald Trump is in charge of the federal forces and Obama's ammo depot. That's why they're so upset about the 2016 election. It messed up everything. Their plan was to finish us off. And it didn't go their direction. Almighty God knew what the plan was. He knew the wicked, evil scheme that Hillary Clinton would carry out. And he stopped it. And Donald Trump doesn't need General Milley. He doesn't need Mark Esper. He doesn't need any of them for approval. He's the chief executive, and those federal officers are under his command.
Yes.
And he can send them, and he's doing it. Obama was buying the bullets for a war against you and me, and he's not in control of it anymore. And wake up, left. Do you realize what we're just telling you? Homeland Security has enough ammo to fight you for 30 years.
And half of you aren't even
So
armed.
bring on your revolution. Bring it on. Bring on your Jacobin revolution.
Okay, so this is what we have going on out there.
And one of the cores of Marxism is no private property. They want your property. They want the government to control it. But they do want one preferred class, and that's the people who are they're going to get like a lifetime salary. And that's going to be black people will get that. And they'll also get to choose property that they want, and that's the reparations for slavery. Except it'll include black people that came from the Caribbean, and it's going to get paid by white people who never had anything to do with slavery, ever. So I don't know why people who came here after slavery was over, I don't know why they would pay, what are they paying reparations for? They didn't do anything. Their family didn't do anything. I don't want a group that hates white people, that hates America, that wants to destroy our system of government, that has been organized by Marxists and funded by terrorists. Well, they hate our civilization. They hate it. And that's why they tear down monuments and burn flags and kneel when national. It's all part of getting as many people to hate America. They undermine our educational system with this 619 program. We have got to get together. We have to be together to preserve the American way of life. George Soros, Black Lives Matter, and the left wing are trying to rip it away from us. And I'll be darned if they're going to get it.
So, yes, I just wanted to provide a little update there to show that the massive psychological operation that appears to be designed to trigger violence in America. Okay, so when you look, for instance, at Rick Wiles, he's talking about veterans. And I would say he's talking specifically to veterans, cowboys, and mountain men. Okay, because these sort of Appalachian mountain rednecks, right, are armed to the teeth, right, and they tend not to be particularly educated, and they are easy to manipulate. Okay, and we saw this gathering on the legislative steps in was it Michigan, Wisconsin, something like that, where they had all of their assault rifles and stuff, and were daring anybody to take away their rights and stuff, right? And again, once again, these veterans, cowboys, and mountain men, right? So they're trying to provoke them. Okay, all of these people like Rick Wiles and Rudy Giuliani who are provoking this, these are criminals. If violence breaks out in North America because of this provoking action, these criminals all need to go to jail. Okay, that is not how leaders behave. Leaders are supposed to promote unity and peace in your country. They're not supposed to provoke war. And yes, I know that Rick Wiles is on the far right wing, but all he needs to do is provoke a number. So some of these British Israel nuts and some of these Christian identity nuts, right? People easy to anger who believe that there's some, devil plot to take over the world, right? These people are dangerous, okay? And they are trying to provoke them. And I'm very concerned about what's going on. There is no middle ground. All we have is one extreme and the other extreme yelling at each other and getting more and more angry. And the establishment, the people who are supposed to be leading us and trying to calm that down, are not calming it down. They're trying to provoke it and make it worse. So that takes us back around to our subject at hand. Now, although just before I close there, I want people to keep in mind something that I've said before and something I'm going to be documenting in an upcoming episode of the Agenda, which is CIA and intelligence infiltration of the media. Okay. Going on for a long time, and they are active on the web, and this is easy to document, and I'm going to be documenting this. The media is saturated with intelligence assets. Now, you can't necessarily identify any given one because they're intelligence assets, and they're undercover, and they're not going to identify themselves, right? They're just going to do their mind manipulation stuff out there. And Rick Wiles was in CNN, right? This, what I would call intelligence saturated media outlet, right? And then he went into Christian broadcasting, and then he went into shortwave and radio broadcasting, where he was basically speaking to the fringes of society. And we have examples, and I will bring this example up in the future, how the FBI has used people like Rick Wiles, actually funded them and supported them to provoke extremism. So I think there's a distinct possibility that Rick Wiles is probably under the employment of the establishment and is out there poking everybody in the chest and trying to provoke these radical extremists, these mountain men and stuff, right, into violent action.